My name is Steve. Welcome back to my shop. This video is going to be the first of two parts of installing the Tru-Line 8 alignment fixture to my round column mill. So let's get started. A while ago I received a Tru-Line 8 stabilizing unit from Bruce Whithem in Australia, the get her out guy, for my round column mill. And it's got this bracket that clamps around the round column, and there's two different size columns. This is designed for the larger column, and of course I have the smaller one. So the inside dimension of this appears to be at 113 millimeter, and my column is 102 millimeter. So I'm cutting a spacer to put in between this and the column, and I'm doing that on the lathe. I've got a disc of 6061 aluminum that I'm cutting it out of, and I've got to cut a hole in the center of it that's almost 4 inches in diameter. So I'm going to trepan the hole, and before I can do that I've got to make the tool bit for it. So let me show you how I'm going to do it. I've got a piece of 1/2 inch high-speed steel that I'm going to use to cut it out of. Now the diameter, the nominal diameter of the hole is 4 inches, so I cut myself a template for 4 inches. I have scored the top of the bit approximately 3/16 of an inch wide, and just get some layout lines here. So I'm going to go take and put this in the vise and see if I can score out my radius a little bit better, so it gives me a line to work to. I'm going to make the bit approximately a 1/2 inch deep, and I'll have to cut from both sides because my stock is a little over 3/4. So let's see how this works out. Okay, I've got it roughed out so that my roughing cuts. I'm going to actually use a cutoff blade in my die grinder to cut the majority of the material out, and then we'll go to the grinder to finish it up. I like to do that when I'm taking a large amount of material off. I just take and cut the bulk of it out with the cutoff disc. The die grinder is getting a little warm. I think I'll let it cool down. Okay, I've got it roughed out. I've got my radius cut on the outside, and I've got the bulk of the material cut out on the inside. So now I've got to cut my inside radius. Oops. I've got to cut out a radius that will follow the inside of this and grind that. I'll freehand grind that. Okay, I've got my radius cut on the inside of that now, and I'm going to take it over to the bench grinder and dress up the face. Okay, here is the cutter, and so I've got radius on the inside and on the outside. Whoops. And on the outside. Let's see if I can, there we go. Outside and the inside. Let's put it in the lathe and see if it works. Well, that's it. Just put the boring bar in and finish it to the final diameter. That'll do it. Now I'll set up, grab it on the inside, and turn my final diameter on the outside. Now I need to cut down the outside diameter to match this bracket. And according to my best calculations, it should be 113 millimeter, which is 4.450. So I'm going to reset this piece up in the lathe and start cutting the outside diameter on it. Now what I'm going to do, in fact I'm going to bring you over to the whiteboard for just a minute. I am going to, this is a cross section of the piece, and I'm going to cut it like that. And what that'll do is it'll give me a flange that'll hold square on this. That'll fit in there, and so that'll go in almost like a bushing. But of course this piece, in order to go around the column of the mill, has to be cut in half, so that'll be two pieces. But with this flange on it, it'll hold it nice and square on the bracket. In order to cut this down to the diameter that I need to, I have to keep it off the face of the jaws a little bit so that I got clearance behind it. I don't run the bit into the jaw. So I'm going to use my ball bearing alignment tool to align this and get it going in the right plane. There we go. That's got it running true enough for what I need. That'll be fine. Okay, the first diameter that I need to take this down to is 5 inches. I'm going to set up my carriage stop so that I can't run into the chuck as I get down to size. Fortunately, I decided to measure again, and they say measure twice, cut once, and so I'm down to my final dimension. It ended up being 5.4 rather than 5 inches, so now I'm ready to cut to the shoulder, and this will be down to about 4.5. I'm going to start at 4.5 and check it at that. Use this for the width. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to leave about 3/16. I'd like it to be a little more, but that's all the material I've got. Got to reset the tool bit a little bit so that I can cut to a square shoulder. Reset my carriage stop. And this should be almost the last pass. Okay, that looks like I'm about 10 thousandths over. Let's try the bracket on it. I couldn't get a real accurate measurement on this bracket. I think I'm going to call it quits on that. I'm going to take that extra 10 off, and then I'll square the shoulder. That's it. I take it out of here. I'll take it over to the bench and show you what we've got. Now, this is the spacer that I made up. What I need to do now in order to use it is to cut it in half. I'll cut it in half in the bandsaw. But this is the bracket. Bracket will clamp around that, and that the inside diameter of this matches the column on my mill. So now I can install the Tru-Line 8 on my round column mill. This will finish this video. Part 2, we'll install it on the mill.